The victim had enjoyed a meal of sea scallops and wild greens, wine, real coffee, and fresh fruit with whipped cream. Ingestion estimated at 5 hours before death. The call had come in quickly. Cicely Towers had been dead only 10 minutes before a cab driver, brave or desperate enough to work the neighborhood, had spotted the body and reported it. The first cruiser had arrived 3 minutes later. Her killer had moved fast, Eve mused. Then again, it was easy to fade in a neighborhood like that, to slip into a car, a doorway, a club. There would have been blood. The jugular gushed and sprayed. But the rain would have been an asset, washing it from the murderer's hands. She would have to comb the neighborhood, ask questions that were unlikely to receive any sort of viable answers. Still, bribes often worked where procedure or threats wouldn't. She was studying the police photo of Cicely Towers with her necklace of blood when her link beeped. Dallas, homicide. A face flashed on her screen, young, beaming, and sly. Lieutenant, what's the word? Eve didn't swear, though she wanted to. Her opinion of reporters wasn't terribly high, but C.J. Morse was on the lowest end of her scale. You don't want to hear the word I've got for you, Morse. His round face split with a smile. Come on, Dallas. The public's right to know, remember? I've got nothing for you. Nothing? You want me to go on air saying that Lieutenant Eve Dallas, the finest of New York's finest, has come up empty in the investigation of the murder of one of the city's most respected, most prominent, and most visible public figures? I could do that, Dallas, he said, clicking his tongue. I could, but it wouldn't look good for you. And you figure that matters to me? Her smile was thin and laser-sharp, and her finger hovered over the disconnect. You figure wrong. Maybe not to you personally, but it would reflect on the department. His girlishly long lashes fluttered. On Commander Whitney for pulling strings to put you on as primary. And there's the backwash on Rourke. Her finger twitched, then curled into her palm. Cicely Towers' murder is a priority with the department, with Commander Whitney, and with me. I'll quote you. Fucking little bastard, she thought. And my work with the department has nothing to do with Rourke. Hey, Brown Eyes, anything that touches you touches Rourke now, and vice versa. And you know, the fact that your man had business dealings with the recently deceased, her ex-husband, and her current escort ties it up real pretty. Her hands balled into fists of frustration. Rourke has a lot of business dealings with a lot of people. I didn't know you were back on the gossip beat, CJ. That wiped the smarmy little smile off his face. There was nothing C.J. Morse hated more than being reminded of his roots in gossip and society news, especially now that he'd wormed his way onto the police beat. I've got contacts, Dallas. Yeah, you've also got a pimple in the middle of your forehead. I'd have that taken care of. With that cheap but satisfying shot, Eve cut him off. Springing up, she paced the small square of her office, jamming her hands into her pockets, pulling them out again. God damn it. Why did Rourke's name have to come up in connection with the case? Just how closely was he involved with Towers' business dealings and her associates? Eve dropped into her chair again and scowled at the reports on her desk. She'd have to find out, and quickly. At least this time, with this murder, she knew he had an alibi. At the time Cicely Towers was having her throat slashed, Rourke had been fucking the hell out of the investigating officer. Chapter 2. Eve would have preferred to have gone back to the apartment she continued to keep, despite the fact that she spent most nights at Rourke's. There she could have brooded, thought, slept, and walked herself back through the last day of Cicely Towers' life. Instead, she headed for Rourke's. She was tired enough to give up the controls and let the auto program maneuver the car through late evening traffic. Food was the first thing she needed, Eve decided, and if she could steal 10 minutes to clear her mind, so much the better. Spring had decided to come out and play, prettily. It tempted her to open the windows, ignore the sounds of bustling traffic, the hum of maxi buses, the griping of pedestrians, the overhead swish of air traffic. To avoid the echoing bellow of the guides from the tourist blimps, she veered over toward 10th. A shot through Midtown and a quick zip up Park would have been quicker, but she would have been treated to the droning recitation of New York's attractions, the history and tradition of Broadway, the brilliance of museums, the variety of shops, and the plug for the blimp's own gift emporium. As the blimp route skimmed over her apartment, she'd heard the spiel countless times. She didn't care to hear about the convenience of the people glides that connected the sparkling fashion shops from 5th to Madison or the Empire State Building's newest skywalk. A minor traffic snag at 52nd had her pondering a billboard where a stunning man and a stunning woman exchanged a passionate kiss, sweetened, they claimed each time they came up for air, by Mountain Stream breath freshener. Their vehicles jammed flank to flank. A couple of cabbies shouted invective insults at each other. A maxibus overflowing with passengers laid on its horn, adding an ear-stinging screech that had pedestrians on rampways and sidewalks shaking their heads or their fists. A traffic hovercraft dipped low, blasted out the standard order to proceed or be cited. Traffic inched uptown, full of noise and temper. The city changed as she moved from its core to its edges, where the wealthy and the privileged made their homes. Wider, cleaner streets, the sweep of trees from the islands of parks. Here, the vehicles quieted to a whoosh of movement, and those who walked did so in tailored outfits and fine shoes. She passed a dog walker who handled a brace of elegant gold hounds with the steady aplomb of a seasoned droid. When she came to the gates of Rourke's estate, her car idled until the program cleared her through. His trees were blooming. White blossoms flowed along with pink, accented by deep, rich reds and blues, all carpeted by a long sweep of emerald grass. The house itself towered up into the deepening sky, glass sparkling in the late sun, the stone grand and gray. It had been months since she had first seen it, yet she had never grown used to the grandeur, the sumptuousness, the simple, unadulterated wealth. She had yet to stop asking herself what she was doing here, with him. She left her car at the base of the granite steps and climbed them. She wouldn't knock. That was pride, and it was ornery. Rourke's butler despised her and didn't trouble to hide it. As expected, Somerset appeared in the hall like a puff of black smoke, his silver hair gleaming, a frown of disapproval ready on his long face.